So here we have another great teaching, and this is Mark 8:14-21, and I'm also going to read the part in Matthew as well, because Matthew 16 also builds off of this a little bit. So this is in Mark, this is yeast of the Pharisees and Herod. But the disciples had forgotten to bring any food. They had only one loaf of bread with them in the boat. As they were crossing the lake, Jesus warned them, "Watch out, beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and of Herod." At this, they began to argue with each other because they hadn't brought enough bread. Jesus knew what they were saying, so he said, "Why are you arguing about having no bread? Don't you know or understand even yet? Are your hearts too hard to take it in? You have eyes you can't see. You have ears you can't hear. Don't you remember anything at all when I fed the 5,000 with the 5 loaves of bread? How many baskets of leftovers did you pick up afterward?" 12, they said. "And when I fed the 4,000 with 7 loaves, how many large baskets of leftovers did you pick up?" 7, they said. "Don't you understand yet?" he asked them. So that is just a little one in Mark. And I like this because, for a little bit of context, before this, there were 2 instances where Jesus was teaching to a crowd, and there was no food for anyone there. But there was one where there were 5,000, and he also says 5,000 men and 4,000 men, which means there were probably about, give or take, 15,000 people there, because back then they wouldn't have addressed women and children. And actually, I think in Mark, I could be wrong about that, so maybe I'm not going to say that, but at least 5,000 people, which is a lot of people, and at least 4,000 people, which is a lot of people. Yeah, right here. Mark says there were about 4,000 men in the crowd. Now, I don't think that if they were saying men, they would have literally, I don't think men meant people. I think it meant literally 4,000 men, which, let's assume they probably all had wives. And I'm sure a lot of them also had multiple children. So a lot of people. And even if it wasn't, still 4,000 people is a lot. So Jesus is saying, he's like, "Were you guys not just there 5 seconds ago? Why are you complaining about bread? You just saw me make thousands of, loaves and fish out of a couple of loaves of bread. Why are you fighting? What is the point about fighting about? That's obviously not what I mean." And so in Matthew, he explains, after he's saying, "What's your problem?" Then he goes on to say, "Why can't you understand that I'm not talking about bread? So again, beware of the yeast." The yeast, you picking up what I'm putting down, guys? "Beware of the yeast of the Pharisees and the Sadducees." Then at last they understood that he wasn't speaking about yeast in bread, but he was speaking about the deceptive teachings of the Pharisees and Sadducees. So that is what that's what they're talking about. Jesus is like, "Dude, I'm not talking about bread. Why are you guys complaining about bread? Clearly, I'm able." He's like, "What's this obsession with bread? Like, Satan wants me to make him bread. You guys are fighting about bread. Why are we all fighting about bread? Okay, clearly I can make you guys bread. That's not an issue. I'm like the, universal baker here. I'm not talking about bread. Yeast of the Pharisees. I'm talking about their bad teaching. okay? And this is important for us today because there are plenty of people, and especially if you're someone like me who's completely new to this, beware of people who are not going to teach the Bible properly, because they will probably use it for their benefit, and you will ultimately not be worshiping a God that is the one from the Bible. That being said, hopefully I'm not one of those people who's a false teacher. Not really a teacher though. So that's just people like Todd White, and I believe his name is Kenneth Copeland, who's been around for a while. I watched very good documentary, recommend it. It's called American Gospel. The one I watched was, I think there's two of them, but the one I watched is called American Gospel, Christ Alone. And it talks about kind of like, especially in America, the false teachers, because they just use, I mean, they get it completely wrong anyway. They teach us that God has already made us perfect, and we don't need to, there's nothing wrong with us. Some of them say that we are God, which is like not true at all. So you kind of also have to use your logic here and think, they're kind of trying to sell it as if the Bible is going to make your life better, and it's going to make you rich, and you're going to have a amazing life. And if you don't have an amazing life and you're not rich and you don't have all these benefits in your life, then clearly you're not praying hard enough, or you are not asking for enough forgiveness from God, or in their case, you're not giving enough money to the church. You should probably give them more money. Give them more money, because that is how it works, people. It's pay to win with God, obviously. That's, no. Beware of the Pharisees. Beware of the yeast of the Sadducees and the Pharisees. I like how in this is another one where the stories kind of build off of each other too, and it's not just the same. Because I noticed the first time I listened to Matthew and Mark, the first time I listened to it, it almost seemed like it was word for word the same thing, but I guess I clearly wasn't paying enough attention the first time. That's why I'm reading it again, because I was aware that I wasn't paying enough attention. But there are good parts like that where one of them says one thing and then the other one builds off of it. Like there was one where, the temptation of the devil, like Mark basically in one sentence is like, by the way, Jesus was tempted. And then that's it. And then Mark's like gives a whole chapter about it. So that's kind of why it's really fascinating about these gospels, is that they all build off of each other. And I know that especially the first three do. I haven't gotten that far yet. I haven't gotten past Mark 8 as of my reread. So yeah, just had to share that one.